With our first big story for the year 2020, we at Channels Television wish you a happy and prosperous year ahead. Before we delve into the stories for 2020, let's do a recap of some big story episodes for 2019. You're welcome. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We start with the education sector. The tertiary institutions were closed at the beginning of 2019 with a striking academic staff union of universities because of welfare, emolument packages, and infrastructural development demands. The strike, which started in November the previous year, was only suspended in February 2019. The solidarity song that most of the time signals unpleasant actions and decisions. And when it comes from the Academic Staff Union of Universities, then the students certainly will not be happy, as it has been since November 2018. Members of ASU are determined to get their demands from this round of strike, and their demands include payment of what they consider their due, which include the decay of infrastructure and equipment in public universities. ASU is also asking for 1.1 trillion naira to fund the university system. Besides the 2009 agreement, ASU is accusing government of disregarding agreements it reached with the union in 2013 and 2017, as well as the failure to pay the arrears of shortfalls in salaries. ASU also says that the federal government has failed to release the operational license of the Nigeria University Pension Management Company to serve as a pension fund administrator for university staff, as contained in the 2017 Memorandum of Action.
Since the commencement of our industrial action on 4th November 2018, we have had 6 meetings with agents of the federal government with no clear commitment from government to resolving the above highlighted issues.
The federal government has reacted and several meetings have been held, but up until the first week of January, a common ground had not been found.
We've finished our deliberations for today, and I'm happy to report to you that we touched and discussed the areas that are outstanding implementation-wise from the Memorandum of Action which we agreed to in 2017. Some of these areas we have substantial compliance, and some other areas have not been fully dealt with. We have, for example, the issue of shortfall in salaries of some federal university workers, lecturers, and as we had given a list to the Accountant General's office, we have agreed that by Wednesday, that list will be cross-checked with the presidential PICA, the Presidential Initiative on Continuous Auditing.
Fortunately, 2020 is not beginning with a strike in the universities. However, the issues which were raised then are still in contention, and there are even new issues, one of which is the integrated payroll and personal information system, which is the most burning tussle with the federal government and ASU. And ASU has said that this could lead to another strike action by the lecturers. In March, the dust of the general elections was just settling after President Muhammadu Buhari won the mandate to lead the country for another 4 years, that is from 2019 to 2023. Big Story looked at the campaign promises vis-a-vis the expectations of Nigerians.
Yes.
Large gatherings in the streets and public places may have come to a temporary end in Nigeria, but the promises made at various gatherings will now be tested, as a major part of the 84 million registered voters in Nigeria participated in the 2019 general elections. For many, the voice of the icon of the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, President Muhammadu Buhari, resounds long after the campaigns have ended.
We are doing very well in agriculture. We have stopped importation of rice. And the money we save, we are putting it in infrastructure. We will do the roads, we will do the railway, we will bring power with whatever money we can recover from the looters.
The campaign promises were only a follow-up on others promised by the APC, which include to initiate action to amend the Nigerian constitution with a view to devolving powers, duties and responsibilities to states in order to entrench true federalism and the true federal spirit, to embark on vocational training, entrepreneurial and skills acquisition scheme for graduates, along with the creation of small business loan guarantee scheme to create at least 5 million new jobs by 2019, to create a social welfare program of at least 5,000 naira that will cater for the 25 million poorest and most vulnerable citizens. These promises motivated many to queue patiently and give their nod for President Muhammadu Buhari to steer the ship of Nigeria for another 4 years. And now that he is Nigeria's president, those who voted for him and those who did not have their list of expectations.
Nigeria, we are expecting Mr. President to still do more for Nigeria, because average Nigeria, we cannot live fine. So we are expected to put more effort and do more to the masses.
To be in the interest of people for the government to alleviate poverty. They should set up programs that empower people and alleviate poverty.
The new infrastructures, the facilities, good hospitals, roads, okay, and also how do I put it, like good job opportunities for our youths, and also the need to increase salaries.
There are, however, a group of Nigerians who are not so expectant about the return of the president, but they say they have accepted the will of the larger population.
Ogoni cleanup. He said he has flagged up Ogoni cleanup. Today, nothing has been done. So, and the Niger Delta is feeding the country, and they are not even respecting the people that fed the country. So, I'm not expecting one single improvement in this government. If he does, we take it because it's our country.
A lot of people are saying he promised light. He has not been able to give that. He promised good infrastructure. People are still saying it's still beyond 50%. Light is still beyond 50%. You should try and improve it, because the truth is, as it is now, you must set precedent for the next president that is coming. A lot of people didn't want him, but today he's back again, and there's nothing you can do. You have to support him also. But he should try and make sure that at the end of the next 4 years, people should be able to say, yes, we've had a president who has done well for his people that voted for him, and set the precedent for the next president that will be coming in.
Persons living with disabilities are more expectant in this second tenure of the administration. This is because of the positive attention they got from his first term when he signed the Discrimination Against Persons Living with Disabilities Act. It would be nice to feel your pulse on the promises, your expectations compared with your reality today, about a year after President Muhammadu Buhari started his second term. Please send your thoughts to bigstory@channelstv.com or tweet @IniVictoria. Now we move to security in Zamfara State. Big Story was attracted to the northwestern state after issues of banditry, kidnapping, and other disturbing stories were told. Our trip starts at the State Command Headquarters in Guzau, and the destination is Shinkafi local government area, one of the 14 which has records of banditry and kidnapping activities in the state. Security situation here is not as stable as the capital, however it is perceived as safe when compared to the rural parts of the local government area. We travel further and open uninhabited land with a handful of settlements are in the middle. At some parts of our travel, the sand is not so friendly to the vehicle, and in the middle of the field, we all have to get off the vehicle because the tire keeps sinking into the sand. After a skillful manipulation by the driver, we scale through to the other side and our journey continues. Our destination is Kwari District, which has about 20 communities and shares borders with Niger Republic and Sokoto State. The road here is undefined and there are clusters of settlement on either side. The settlements are, however, now empty for about 2 months after a series of attacks and killings. In the area we see Ferindutse Hill. Our police escorts say many officers have been killed at this point because the bandits use the hill as an ambush. About 2.5 hours into a journey, we arrive at Atara village, one of the villages that has been attacked. Many of the houses have been burnt down and villagers are yet to regain confidence to return home. And even as we stop to record, the officers with us have to be at alert. Activities have, however, started in the area. Lorries carrying agricultural produce from a nearby farm out to the town, along with traders who have come to buy them, can be seen. Hajia Tumbo is one of the returnees in Atarawa village, although she says confidence is fragile.
Some of our people have been kidnapped and many others killed. Personally, I lost 7 members of my family to the attacks. After that, the rest of us fled our homes for 5 months. I am only here because of the presence of the security operatives. However, we lack food.
Further, we meet some farmers. This area is known to produce cassava, sweet potato, mangoes, garden eggs and onions. The farmers now employ local security personnel for their protection to and from the farm. About 15 minutes later, we arrive in the village. Buildings have been touched from the entrance of the village, the first being what we are told used to belong to a councillor in an alleged attempt to steal money from the house. However, the reason for some thatch houses being burnt may elude many minds, as it's obvious that the residents could hardly have bulk money or valuables stored in here. The residents of Kwari village, both young and old, hardly have access to the finer things of life. They obviously just live off the proceeds of their farms, which is meager because they practice peasant farming. Living here is rural, but there's one good thing, and that's that the government has provided boreholes, which gives the villagers alternative source of water. Unfortunately, this simple life has been disrupted in the last 5 months or so. The district head, Magaji Ibrahim Kwari, tells us that the population we see here is only about 3% of their total population because many have fled their homes after the attacks.
People that are living here, out of 100%, I think, remain only 3% because most of them ran away because of the intervention of these bandits. And they used to come and terrorize us and go away. They kill our people. At the end of the day, when they used to come around at 4 to 5 in the evening, if not because of the intervention of the security men, we will have find things very difficult.
Thankfully, the Zamfara state government has recruited about 4,500 persons as security guards to beef up security in all parts of the state. And the stories of these insecurity challenges only come in trickles. But that does not mean that there's total security in Zamfara state. In June, we joined the world to celebrate the widows. We brought all eyes to the plight of some women who have lost their husbands and have to deal with the harsh realities of catering for their children. In some cases, the pressure of unfriendly tradition. Widowhood has not treated Veronica Peter well. It's been 6 years since her husband died of hypertension, according to her, without pre-knowledge of the health challenge. After the rent expired in their former accommodation, she has had to move around quite a bit before ending up here in Orile Agege area of Lagos. Not an area she would have loved to stay, but her options are very limited. Mrs. Peter lives in this single room with her 6 children. 4 of them were born before the death of her husband, the late Amos Peter, and 2, a set of twins, 3 months after the death of their father.
After my husband died, I didn't have money to pay house rent. That is how the man gave me quick notice. From there, here and there, I pack off for there. The house I enter again. The man has been asking me to go out with him. As I did not agree, he started fighting me. After 1 year, he pushed me out. Before I rent, even the rent of this house, I borrowed money. That is 86,000. I pay 40,000, remain 46 now. This one too expire. That is July 31st. I'll pay the house rent for this place where we are now. Since when my husband died, it has been here for me and my children.
Properties from their former house, which was bigger than this one, occupies most of the space here, and 7 of them have to fit into the leftover space. While the challenge of Mrs. Veronica Peter is economical, there are other issues which seem tied to the fiber of Nigerian culture. Mrs. Rose Okafor enjoyed a blissful marriage for 26 years with 2 children, but that did not cover her from a 4-month compulsory mourning tradition, which she describes as dehumanizing.
There's what they call the first burial and the second burial. The first burial was the one where the corpse is being interred. That's when the mourning, the counting of the mourning for the widow starts. So after the first burial, I was supposed to go after a month to remove the clothes, a particular clothes I am wearing, which I must not wash at the daytime. I don't comb my hair. I don't go to public places. I don't go to the market. I am restricted at a place. I was told I'll be sleeping on either a bare floor. I don't sit on the couch. I don't sleep on the bed. I don't go to the market. I don't go to any public function.
This year we would look at the lives of the widows again, but guess what? Their needs don't only come up when the cameras bring them on air. Even as we speak, many have difficulties to feed their children, send them to school, provide accommodation, and of course the government can make a change, but individuals can also help the widows in Nigeria. In August, it was the World Humanitarian Day. Big Story brought your attention to the situation in Nigeria when we brought you to the situation in various internally displaced camps in the country. More than 2.2 million Nigerians, according to the Internal Displacement Monitoring Center, were homeless as at December 31st, 2018. The causes include disaster, conflict, but more connected to insurgency. The outbreak of Boko Haram insurgency in 2009 has steadily become the single greatest cause of displacement, with the federal government recording about 868,000 internally displaced persons in the northeastern region alone. With the combined efforts of the government at various levels, International organizations, non-governmental organizations, as well as individual contributions, over 63% of the IDPs reside in host communities. In the camp, half of the population are women, 60% are below 18 years of age, while 25% are people with specific needs, although the gap for basic living requirements cannot be overestimated. In Edo State, South Nigeria, about 4,000 of the internally displaced persons have found refuge here, many of them victims of insurgency from Borno and Adamawa states. Run by the International Christian Center for about 7 years now, the camp is situated in Benin. The living condition here seems better than most, at least from the outside. But focusing on the details would change that perception. For instance, the sleeping area does not look so different, as everyone shares an open space and privacy is a luxury. The kitchen is a wood structure and the source of fire is wood, with its attendant disadvantages.
We have to deal with the issue of mosquitoes, deal with the issues of malaria, fever. So we depend solely on donations.
The humanitarian situation in Nigeria is not off the hook yet. The United Nations, with its partners supporting the government of Nigeria and countries that are hosting Nigerian refugees, simultaneously launched the 2019-2021 Humanitarian Response Strategy and the Regional Refugee Response Plan. These are supposed to take $848 million and $135 million respectively to continue providing food, water, shelter, and protection to the most vulnerable people in Nigeria and neighboring Cameroon, Chad, and Niger. In other words, a lot of work is still to be done in the humanitarian area and in security, economy, creating jobs, and infrastructure. Now in December, we went to the market, a place that's busiest at the festive period, and yet the infrastructural development there leaves a lot to be desired. The hustle and bustle, typical in many markets in Nigeria. Hundreds, if not thousands, patronize open markets for foodstuff and other needs. But shopping here is not a pleasurable experience. One has to brace up and get prepared to wade through a lot of uncomfortable scenes. Whether in Onitsha Market in Anambra State, Zakibiambia Market in Benue, the picture is pretty much the same, but the hurdles have not deterred many from patronizing traders here.
A lot of variety. You have choices. You can make choices.
Hygiene is a major concern. Food items are openly displayed with no stalls in many occasions. The scene gets even more untidy in some places where the waste resulting from the market activities are not well discarded.
They have a permanent site where refuse to be done. After trading, they should gather the refuse and dump it where those people packing it can easily have access to the place and keep it thoroughly clean.
Another major market in Lagos is Mile 12 International Market, a place for perishable food items, mostly brought in from the northern parts of the country. For over 40 years now, residents from far and near depend on this market for tomatoes, vegetables, and onions. Mile 12 Market has gone through many phases and recorded a lot of stories, from issues concerning waste management, tribal clash among residents in the area, to traffic management on the roads around the market.
What is disturbing government is the traffic conjunction in the market, road trading. So we'll come up with the map of what we can do both outside and inside the market. So now we have started the outside. You can see the outside is very beautiful. Nobody is hawking outside. Nobody is even loading outside. Initially, you see this National Union of Road Transport. They put on their van, put up their taxis, load outside. We have made a provision for them inside the market.
Well, that's a recap of 2019. 2020 is loaded, and it would be great if we do it together. So please do send messages to bigstory@channelstv.com and also tweet at IniVictoria. It would be nice to include your messages on the program. Well, that's it for this episode. I'm Ini John Mekwa.